Okay, this is the Blademaster SPB 850. I'm going to show sharpening some skates. The on-off button is down here. Uses a standard 8-inch diameter wheel here. You can take this off. Over here you can go ahead, this is spring loaded, so you can flip this around, but it goes on like this. You can rotate this around. This is an 1/2 inch radius of hollow is like this. This is an 1/8. So I'm going to set this to a 5/8 inch here. And on the other side here is metric. So it's got 12 millimeters, 25 millimeters, 38 millimeters. So you can flip this around to put it in this way. I'm going to flip it around like this. It's 1/2 inch. I'm going to set it to a 5/8 inch radius. This has got a spring on it, so you can go through and put this on like this, click it in place, and then I'll make sure I'm not going to touch the diamond at first, and you can adjust these screws through here to go ahead and move this back. You can undo this, and let me move the unit some. I can move this a little bit back so it'll touch the So I'm going to kick this on. And normally what you do is you use a hood here to pull off the grinding dust. I'm just not using one right now just so it makes a little bit better video. So I can lock this down. I've dressed the wheel to 5/8. Here's a skate I'm going to put on. It's a little bitty tube. This is a 3D holder. This is an up-down. This knob is going to lift it this way. This one's going to lift it this way. This tilts it up and down. You can turn all three and lift it all up and down. Now I've got it already dialed in for this skate. Put this in the holder here. Tighten it down. So it's gripping here on the skate. Most hockey blades are about 3 millimeters thick, which is 117, 118, 119 thousandths. And this particular machine, the wheel is going, wait till it stops, it's going that way. Pretty much the Blademaster goes that way, Easy Sharp goes that way. I think Wasota goes the opposite way. So it's really not a big deal. I've used both machines, so it doesn't really make that much difference. Here on the, you want to go ahead and use a brush to go ahead and get this off, the dust that's on here. And if you get any corrosion here, because it's a humid area, you can use some 600 grit to kind of get this, get the corrosion off. Kick it on. Now this is a low-end skate blade, so this is actually not a stainless blade. This is a carbon steel blade. And I can go look to see how it's cutting. And this is a real excellent small machine. It goes ahead and has a 1/2 horsepower motor, I believe. It says 7.5 amps. 110 volts, 120 volts made in Canada. When you're sharpening skates on any tabletop machine, what you want to make sure you do, there's a propensity to go through and grind this edge more than the other edge, so it changes the profile. So you can kind of just either not do that area at first or go through and just do lighter cuts. This type of spark pattern is due to carbon steel blade. So it's got a really nice fine finish on there. This is a really good holder. Comes off like that. And any type of holder like this, doesn't matter what the brand is, you want to make sure that when it's in here, it's not touching any other feature on here, because then the skate will be biased up this way or this way. And also, like on this machine, you've got the knobs that you can grab a hold of here to move this around. If you have this in the holder like this, and you push on the skate like this, you're going to tend to go ahead and have it cut wrong. So once you're cutting a whole bunch of skates that are all the same thickness, you usually don't have to fool around with the knobs or anything. Now if somebody's mess with it, you need to do some trials and check to make sure what the if it's cutting correctly. So you don't want to go through and do this. You can grab the knobs and move this around. It's got a really nice edge through there. We'll do the other skate real quick. These are just little size 2 skates. You put the laces down in here. This is a CCM 2.0 LT. Now whether you put the skate one end first or another, that's kind of personal preference. I'm sure I'll get some flack on that. That's pretty much cleaned that up. How many passes you have to do depends on how much the skate's going to be used. Sometimes you can just do a couple passes and it's okay. If you got something that's been abused, skated on a lake, you walked on concrete, somebody's done something stupid, you may have to do a bunch of passes. And again, when you're doing this profile with time, will tend to get, if you wail on these ends, you get what they call a banana profile, where this tends to get turned down more. So you got to be aware that on any skate sharpener, this is kind of like an open loop thing where you're pushing on this. You don't want to go through and try to change the profile too much. When this gets to be to where you've got the 9-foot radius gets to be smaller and smaller, you got a skate that tends to be more, where this may be 7 or 8 feet through here. You have a slower skate and it'll corner easier, but you've got a bit more of a balance issue because this has been turned down. And it's really a disaster on figure skates to turn this down. You can see on this has got a chrome on here. And once I'm done, I take a stone and knock the burr off of this. So this has got a 5/8 inch radius of hollow. Now when you do a bunch of cutting through here, you're going to go through and wear just the center portion of the stone. So that's why you need to go back and turn it on and redress this. You may notice that it only cut right in the center. Cut the edges in a little bit. And I've got to go in the back and adjust the knob just a little bit. And I should have gone through and used the vacuum hood over here. This is a blade guard that just keeps, you adjust back and forth so that it's only the blade sticking out. And they make many different types of holders like this, depending whether this one is set up for hockey and figure skates, this particular holder. And Blademaster is really consistent on this bail that you use here to go ahead and sharpen. They're pretty much use this on all the 3-head, 2-head machines. This is the same on the small, more of a portable machine. You take all this off to go through and replace the sharpening stone. You probably get about 200 sharpenings, 100, 200, 300 per stone. That's kind of just a coarse rule of thumb because of depends on how goofed up the skates are. If it's your own skates, you take care of them. You can do an awful lot of skates. or it gets goofed up. There's a 7, a mark there on Blademaster. They'll actually show the diameter. Right through here there's a 7 and a 6. Now as you wear this wheel down, the surface velocity is lower, so you can get to where it's a little bit different in the cutting action. And they do have a high-end model that has a variable speed control over here that you set. I think the machine's about $3 grand, and you can go through and it'll bump the surface velocity. The RPM is not nominally like 3,600. It'll actually have a higher RPM, so as you go cut the disc down, you're going to keep the surface velocity up. I think they must have a DC shunt motor on there, and that's just an kind of enhancement. So just be aware as you wear down on the wheel, the way it cuts can be a little bit different. And that's just a low-end skate that I've just done some stuff here on. The holders on these things are anywhere from probably $300 to $500 on any tabletop machine, or even more. If you got it in a communal situation where people are going to come at this, you got to be aware somebody can mess with the knobs. If this is locked up in a box, then you don't have any issues like that. But if you put some marks on here and you want to do some lifting this up and down, you can go ahead and kind of keep track of where you are. But if you got some people who want to mess around, they can adjust this knob and then you're off. So just be aware if you got a machine that a lot of people can get at, that's a problem with a tabletop machine. Somebody's going to get in here not knowing what they're doing and get it all jazzed up. You can get a blade that's thicker than normal. Like figure skate blades are 4 millimeters thick nominally, and then hockey blades, like over here, are 3 millimeters thick. So you've got to go ahead and drop the holder down for a figure skate half the difference. You got to drop it down half a millimeter. So if you're doing a lot of skates, it's more productive to have 2 holders. In the sense, one is set up for figure skates and one's for hockey skates, because you don't have to fool around and adjust this thing all the time. So that's it. That's the SB 850 machine made in Canada by Blademaster.